It's my second time in San Sebastian. I've been here 15 years ago with 4 months, 3 weeks and 2 days. That was my first time. And I had a lot of lovely memories because I was here with my 2-year-old son who was playing here on the beach. Now he's 17, so time passes.
Deci îmi dai mâna?
Potolește-te că n-ai momentul.
Ți-e rușine cu mine? Îți cer mâna aici și...
Te rog frumos, chiar nu-i momentul.
Bine. Doar dă mâna și nu mai zic bine.
The films that I do are inspired a lot by reality, and they are quite realistic, and therefore I try to understand what are the main characteristics of reality. And one of them is this continuum of time. This is what reality is. There is no editing. You cannot, unfortunately, eliminate the parts that you don't like. And therefore I keep making my films just using one shot per scene. The rhythm of the film is always given by the story, but I stayed with the same idea that I try to be as little present as a director in the film as possible. Not only that I'm not judgmental, but also when I shoot, I never move the camera on my own will. Unless the camera follows something in the shot, I won't be moving it. I encourage actors not to speak one after the other, but at the same time. So I was having a scene of 26 minutes and the shot is 17 minutes. And I said, wow, how am I going to do this? Because when you write, normally you write the lines one after the other on paper. And I said, no, look, we're going to have the first 10 pages and this is just going to be a scene and you will be talking on the same time. It's easier to say than to do, because film is also a technical kind of recording reality. We used, I think, 26 microphones. And I also needed to find a way for the actors which were not facing the camera. It's very difficult for an actor to continue focusing and playing well if he sees that the camera is not looking at him. So I did two things. I created this wall of mirrors at the back of the hall, so that they knew that they are in the reflection in that mirror. And I started from them and then turned the camera, and I invented a second camera from the film, like a journalist's camera, and they knew that I'm recording them as well. And by the end of the scene, what I did, I started conducting the scene a little bit like a musical conductor. I hid behind the camera just to give them the right rhythm of reactions. I decided to tell the story precisely because I thought it's very universal, and because it speaks about the state of the world today and about us as people with the anxiety and fear that we feel in front of this uncertain future. And we are also afraid of all these changes brought by the globalization, because you cannot control its side effects. I chose to place the film in Transylvania because very often I start from a real incident. It's where it happened, and also because Transylvania stands a lot in my mind for what Europe is today. A conglomerate of people of different ethnicities and religions and with different languages that need to learn how to cohabitate together, because things are not getting back to the national states, and because one of the side effects of globalizations is that people move a lot. And then I thought that, as you say, this story happening in this small village surrounded by forests could happen everywhere. The idea is that in Transylvania we have this minority of Hungarians, and if you want, they represent this desire of minorities to respect their tradition, and therefore they are quite an enclosed community, not too much open for the others. But normally you would expect that from a minority, you would have more empathy for somebody else who is even more a minority than you. But it happened the other way around. And then I started asking myself, so why is this happening? And unfortunately, I think it reveals a side of us as humans which is not very nice. And it speaks about this portrait of the humanity of today. The title, R.M.N. in Romanian, is the acronym for this brain investigation, and it connects with the film a lot because what I wanted to do is to have a scan and a radiography, if you want, of the society of today and the way we behave as people and the way our brain is built up. There's a struggle always, and the film speaks about this. There's a struggle between the two sides present inside of us. On one side, we need to accept that we are animals, and for millions of years this instinct of survival grew up in us, and it's most of our brain is kick and run, and we have all these violent impulses. If you watch what happens in Ukraine now, you see that there's a very violent side of humanity, and people need so little to kill, rape, or torture somebody else who speaks pretty much the same language and was yesterday their neighbor. And on the other side, we have this more human personality with empathy and generosity. But my feeling is that this was shaped rather in the last, let's say, 5,000, 10,000 years, which historically, and it's a very short period, and so this must be just a very thin crust on our brain, and there's always this clash. And it also speaks about this fight between individuality and the mob, the collectivity. And today we live in this world of a lot of fake news. People are so tired of reading, getting themselves informed, and they became very easy to be manipulated. And therefore, at the end, we have these great surprises when they vote, but at the same time, we do not take the time to listen to them, to let them express their opinion, and to try to change something profoundly. For me, for example, it was very important to set the situation in the middle of a village surrounded by forests, because, you know, from this darkness of the forest, there are a lot of fears and anxiety coming, and therefore I used this habit of people dressing in bears to talk about this duality that we have in us. And by the end of the film, you don't know which side the main character is going to choose. On one side, there is this darkness and the anxiety and these creatures inviting him. And on the other side, there's the light, the affection, the music, the structure of the society and the village. And he is like in between these impulses. What he is going to choose, I don't know. But what matters is what we are going to choose. It's a way of encouraging spectators to think about this. It's easier to think about your opinions by watching somebody else's on the screen, and to double check if you don't think precisely like the people you see on screen. Because also the film is not judgmental. What I'm always trying to do with my films is not to involve my personal opinions as a citizen, but to just keep being a director, presenting the circumstances in which some people use their arguments to get to a choice. And I try always to preserve this kind of ambiguity in the film, and I hope that the people are going to interpret the film this way, that it's a snapshot of reality, the way we see it today, and if we don't like what we see, well, we need to get involved in our real lives and change something.